In more news that rarely surprises me, but continues to show just how pathetic Donald Trump is, late last night and into the morning, he's been ranting and raving about how he does not want to do the debate against Vice President Kamala Harris on ABC because he says it's very unfair and they're very biased and they're going to ask him very tough questions. Let me show you the post that Donald Trump made. And folks, isn't this just getting old? Look, Donald, do the debate, don't do the debate, but you're constant whining like a petulant third grader. No offense to petulant third graders. It's enough. It's enough. This is why I don't care what political party or affiliation you have who's watching this, but it's just like, dude, just grow up, Donald. Grow up. Act like an adult. And if you can't behave like a grown-up, you shouldn't be anywhere near a position of power, yet alone the nuclear codes. Here's what Donald Trump writes. He goes, I watched ABC fake news this morning. Both lightweight reporter Jonathan Karl's ridiculous and biased interview of Tom Cotton, who was fantastic, and their so-called panel of Trump haters. And I ask, why would I do the debate against Kamala Harris on the network? Will panelist Donna Brazile give the questions to Marxist candidate like she did for crooked Hillary Clinton? Will Kamala's best friend who heads up ABC do likewise? Where is little George Slopadopoulos hanging out now? Will he be involved? They've got a lot of questions to answer. Why did Harris turn down Fox, NBC, CBS, and even CNN? Stay tuned! Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. There was no agreed upon debate on Fox. Donald, you made one up after you backed out of the September 10th debate on ABC. And Donald Trump posted the following back on August 2nd, 2024. Trump goes, I have agreed with Fox to debate Kamala Harris on a Wednesday, September 4th. The debate was previously scheduled against Sleepy Joe Biden on ABC, but has been terminated in that Biden will no longer be a participant, and I am in litigation against ABC Network and George Slopadopoulos, thereby creating, just these names, these childhood names. His last name is Stephanopoulos. Slopadopoulos, it's just silly. It's old. It's boring. Grow up. Grow up. Trump goes on to say, the Fox News debate will be held in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania at a site to be determined. Again, Trump is just making this stuff up. There's no agreed upon debate there. And then this is when on July 25th, the Trump campaign canceled officially the debate on ABC. It said, given the continued political chaos surrounding crooked Joe Biden and the Democrat Party, general election debate details cannot be finalized until Democrats formally decide on their nominee. There is a strong sense by many in the Democrat Party, namely Barack Hussein Obama, that Kamala Harris is a Marxist fraud who cannot beat Trump, and they are still holding out for someone better. Therefore, it would be inappropriate to schedule things with Harris because Democrats very well could still change their mind. That was July 25th of 2024. And then Stephen Chung, who posted that, the Trump campaign's lead spokesperson, then you idiots all fell for the trap. Hussein was trending and was mentioned on the cable news throughout the night. Thanks for doing our jobs, cucking his announcement this morning. Moron. What in the world are they talking about? Now, as Donald Trump continues to falter, as the polls continue to turn against him and he rapidly declines, the new thing that Trump and MAGA is rolling out now is Trump, Vance, and Kennedy. And Vance is small, and so it's kind of like the Trump campaign is pushing J.D. Vance aside, which is fairly predictable as well. Now, all of the MAGAs who were basically calling RFK Jr., like everything from like, were they calling him like a pedo? They were calling him like the worst person ever. They were calling him a communist Marxist. Now they're like all in on the Kennedy train. And now Kennedy and Trump are saying, make America healthy again. And as our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, goes, because that's what America wants. Two kooky conspiracy theorist charlatans in charge of public health and science. Well said by Philip Kowski there. J.D. Vance gave some terrible interviews over the weekend. I give Christine Welker good credit here. I mean, she did a really good, I think, interview with J.D. Vance. Here's when she asks him about RFK Jr. Play this clip.
Let's move on. Robert F. Kennedy, the big news yesterday.
Very big news.
He suspended his campaign, announced he's endorsing Donald Trump. He is also known as someone who has blamed vaccines for autism, antidepressants for school shootings, and recently said, quote, he won't take sides on what happened on 9/11. Do you have any hesitation about accepting his endorsement?
No, Kristen, I don't, because we're going to disagree on issues, right? There are things that Robert Kennedy has said that I disagree with. I'm sure there are things that he said, or that I've said, that he's going to disagree with. But I think what his endorsement represents is that Donald J. Trump's Republican Party is a big tent party. I was raised by two grandparents who are sort of classic blue dog Democrats. They believed in having a border. They believed that, you shouldn't have censorship in the United States of America. They believed in common sense economic policies. They may have disagreed with Donald Trump about tax policy, but they believed in some fundamental American values. And I think what RFK's endorsement really shows is that the Kennedy Democrats are actually more at home in the Republican Party of Donald Trump. And unfortunately, Kamala Harris's party, higher prices, doing nothing to fight back against the Chinese, to say nothing of a wide open border. That is not JFK's Democratic Party. It's not RFK's Democratic Party. We're thrilled to have the Kennedy Democrats where they belong.
Well, and some in the Kennedy family have stepped forward to say that they sharply disagree with this endorsement. But let's just go back very quickly. He says he isn't taking sides on 9/11. Do you agree with that statement?
Well, of course I don't agree with that, Kristen. Now, to be clear, I don't know what RFK actually said there. Maybe there was additional context. Of course, you actually have to see what people say before you agree or disagree with it. I certainly have taken sides in 9/11. I'm the pro-America side. I don't think that we should have been attacked. And I certainly think hitting back against the terrorists was justified. I don't know what RFK said there, but what I do know is that RFK said a lot of very interesting and important things, that the Democratic Party has become too pro-censorship, that the Democratic Party, especially in the wake of COVID, became really anti-freedom and anti-child. I mean, you had Democrats saying that we should be masking toddlers in their schools, even though we knew it caused developmental disabilities. I agree with RFK that that was crazy.
Well, to be fair, there was a lot of information that scientists were grappling with as it came in, and masks were perceived to stop the spread of the disease. Let's move on.
Totally fair.
Yeah.
But the one thing before we move on that I would say on that is there were important leaders. Donald Trump was among them. RFK was among them, who were saying some of this stuff is crazy. And if we had listened to them, I think our kids would have been much better off in the wake of the pandemic.
I mean, scientists did show that masks help to stop the spread of the disease. Let's talk about another big issue.
Disabilities for toddlers, right? We have to be able to balance this stuff. And I think the way that RFK struck that balance was much smarter, unfortunately, than the way that Kamala Harris did.
Let's talk.
Here's where she asks him about his childless cat lady comment. Play the clip.
Talk about women voters more broadly. The Census Bureau estimates there are 22 million women between the ages of 20 and 40 who, for whatever reason, do not have children. What do you say to those women who hear some of your comments, including the childless cat lady comments, which you've been asked about, but who feel as though you won't represent them?
Well, I'd say, first of all, I will represent you. I want to be the vice president for the whole country, and I want to represent everybody. And yes, I made a sarcastic comment years ago that I think that a lot of Democrats have willfully misinterpreted. But what I've simply said is that I think that it's really a profound change that's happened in our country where we become anti-family, and I would like to change that. And I think if you...
And here she's saying, like, you're saying sarcastic, but like this has really hurt a lot of women. Here, play this clip.
Out a little bit. Then you're calling it a sarcastic comment.
Sure.
And yet some women, and you got the feedback in real time, felt like it was a gut punch to them personally. Do you regret making that comment?
Look, I regret certainly that a lot of people took it the wrong way, and I certainly regret that the DNC and Kamala Harris lied about it.
But do you regret what you said, Senator?
Look, Kristen, I'm going to say things from time to time that people disagree with. I'm a real person. I'm going to make jokes. I'm going to say things sarcastically. And I think that what's important is that we focus on the policy. There are certainly going to be things that I say. If I'm elected vice president, people are going to say, well, I wish he had said that differently. I think it's most important to actually be the person I actually am and to say, Those sarcastic comments were made in the service of a real substantive point. This country has become too anti-family. It's too expensive to afford a house. It's too expensive to afford groceries. Donald Trump and I want to change that. And unless we get better leadership, we're not going to.
But again, just very quickly, given that people have told you directly, have spoken out, have said that they were offended, they were hurt by those comments, do you wish you never made those childless cat lady comments?
I think that it's much more important for me to just be a normal human being who sometimes says things that people disagree with. I have a lot of regrets, Kristen, but making a joke 3 years ago is not in the top 10 of the list.
All right.
Seriously, he says it's not on his top 10 list. I mean, what a brutal thing. What a horrific things to say. She asks him about what he thinks about Donald Trump casting doubt on the election results. Play the clip.
Move on to something that Donald Trump said in North Carolina and yet again Friday night.
Our primary focus is not to get out the vote. It's to make sure they don't cheat, because we have all the votes you need. You can see it.
Why is Donald Trump casting doubt on the election before it's even happened?
I don't think that's what Donald Trump is doing.
Well, that's what he's doing. That's what he says here. We need to make sure they don't cheat.
I think that what he's saying is that we want to pursue a set of policies in the Republican Party that make it easier for every legal ballot to be cast and counted, but make it harder for illegally cast ballots to be counted. Now, we can disagree about how many of those there are, whether there are a few hundred, a few thousand, maybe more, but just in the last week, okay, so just in the last week, once in Arizona and once in Pennsylvania, there were major court wins that make our ballot process more secure and more effective. I think that's what Donald Trump is talking about, is we have to pursue, sometimes through litigation, sometimes through better policy at the state or national level, a set of rules that make sure every ballot is legally counted.
Well, it's very different from your message, which is you said, and I'll quote you back to yourself, we have to work as hard as possible to persuade Americans to vote for us. Are you on the same page as Donald Trump? Because again, he seems to be casting doubt on the results of the election before it's even happened.
Of course, we're on the same page, Kristen. We talk all the time, and I guarantee you, if you sat here and said, Mr. President, Donald Trump, do you believe that we need to do, that your campaign needs to persuade voters as much as possible? Of course he's going to say yes. That's not inconsistent with thinking that we need to pursue a set of approaches that make sure legal ballots get counted, illegal ballots don't get counted.
Do you have faith the 2024 election will be free and fair?
I do, Kristen. I do think it's going to be free and fair, and we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that happens. We're going to pursue every pathway to make sure, again, legal ballots get counted. But I feel very good about where we are. I think we're going to win this race, and I think we're going to win it in a very good election.
All right.
And here she asks him about tariffs, and you'll see J.D. Vance lie here. Play this clip.
So when Kamala Harris says, if we do the thing that Trump already did, it's going to be way worse than it was last time, I just don't think that makes a lot of sense.
Well, let's talk about Trump's record during his first term. He did impose rounds of tariffs, and it cost Americans nearly $80 billion in new taxes. Do you acknowledge that imposing more tariffs will ultimately cost consumers?
Well, what it really does is it penalizes importers from bringing goods outside the country into the country. And I think that's just a necessary thing. We know that China and a number of other countries are using effectively slave labor to undercut the wages of American workers. Donald Trump thinks that has to stop. And again, what Kamala Harris is saying, Kristen, is that if you do this, you're somehow going to cause skyrocketing inflation. In reality, Donald Trump already did it. He brought a lot of jobs back, and it didn't cause inflation.
But it caused consumers to pay more. They paid more in taxes, $80 billion worth. Do you acknowledge that consumers ultimately will pay more if there are more tariffs imposed?
So economists...
Do you just acknowledge that?
No, I don't, Kristen, because I think economists really disagree about the effects of tariffs because there can be a dynamic effect, right? So what some economists will say is what you just said, that it will actually raise costs for consumers. But what other people say, and I think the record supports what this other view, is that it causes this dynamic effect where more jobs come into the country. Anything that you lose on the tariff from the perspective of the consumer, you gain in higher wages. So you're ultimately much better off. You have more take-home pay, you have better jobs, and also we have more reliance.
That's Donald Trump and J.D. Vance in a nutshell for you. Let me know what you think. I think Trump's going to debate. I'm sick and tired of just the constant whining. It's like you agreed to debate on ABC on September 10th. There's no such thing as a Fox debate. That's not happening. So you'll do your Sean Hannity town hall like you want to do anyway, and then go, oh, she refuses to show up. No, just grow up, debate her or don't debate her, and just shut up. I mean, that's kind of how we all feel at this point. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 3 million together. Thanks for watching.
Real quick, Meta just changed their algorithm to suppress political content. Please follow our Instagram @MeidasTouch right now as we head towards 400,000 followers so you don't miss a beat.